Hello and welcome to Standpoint. I am Veronica Dan-Ikpoyi. The restructuring debate doesn't seem to be dying down soon as more notable Nigerians are lending their voices to the call, urging the federal government to consider its stance on the implementation of some of the recommendations of the 2014 confab. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has been on the forefront of the debate for restructuring. And last week, the Senate threw its weight behind the calls for restructuring. And just recently, former military head of state General Ibrahim Babangida did same, calling for the devolution of powers to give more responsibilities to the states, while the federal government oversees the country's foreign policy, defense, and the economy. The Governors Forum of both the PDP and APC have also backed the calls for restructuring, stating that the present structure lacks the provision to enhance national integration, cohesion, prosperity, social justice, fairness, equity, and equality. We will be focusing on the restructuring debate during the first half of the show today. And as usual, I won't be doing this alone. I have with me in the studio a presiding pastor of Living Spring Chapel International, Pastor Femi Emmanuel. Thanks for coming on the show. And also with me is the Executive Secretary, Nigeria National Summit Group, and who was a delegate to the 2014 confab, Tony Uranta. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
I was a member of the presidential committee that designed the confab.
Oh, great.
I opted not to be in the confab.
Okay. So you're welcome to the program. All right, now let's start with the recent rising calls for restructuring. But then what exactly is restructuring? Because different views, people talk about restructuring, but they see it in different ways. I'll start with you, Tony. What do you view this restructuring that is being called for as?
Really, it's simply reforming the political economy of Nigeria, rejigging the structure on which we survive as a nation, and the modus vivendi, how we decided to live together. I could sum it up easily by saying the APC chairman said APC's manifesto did not promise restructuring, but it promised fiscal federalism, devolution of powers, and so on.
So is there a difference?
That is restructuring.
Okay.
Because basically, I could say you have in fact done all the work for us in your introduction. Once you make the center less powerful, you devolve powers to the states and the local governments. You have restructured if you do it in such a way as to make this center become unattractive. People need to stop killing themselves over wanting to be, for example, president. It is this unitary system that got foisted upon us by the military in 1966 that has created a lot of the anomalies we are faced with today. And the only way we can get out of things like the Northeast insurgency called Boko Haram, the Middle Belt killings by the Fulani headsmen, the Southeast call for a Biafra, the Niger Delta militancy, is by removing power from the center, giving it to the states.
Let's get Pastor Femi's stance on this issue. What does restructuring mean? And is there a difference between restructuring and federalism? It seems like, since Tony mentioned something just now, so we need to break it down for people to understand.
Just like he said, restructuring, redoing our foundation. He said when the foundation is faulty, the superstructure would not stand. We got it right at independence. The basis of our staying together as an entity, as a nation, was negotiated and agreed. by the founding fathers. But like Tony said, in 1966, a unity system was foisted on us, and that agreement was pushed aside. And since then, we entered into this problem of suspicion, mutual suspicion. We can't stay together if we don't trust ourselves, if we don't believe in ourselves. I keep saying to people, Nigeria, yes, but we are different people forced together. And that's why you're talking about devolution of power. And I agree completely that the center has been too attractive, too powerful. An average Nigerian will ask you, sometimes you wonder, why are people clamoring that their own person should be in the presidency? Why don't we look for the best person that have the love and the interest of this country at heart? Why should the Igbo man say it should be an Igbo presidency? Why should a Southwesterner say, I want a Yoruba man to be there? Why should Hausa people say, it's because we're just not the same people. We don't trust ourselves, and there's so much power at the center. I ask myself, if you put an Igbo person there, or a Yoruba person, or Hausa person there, is he going there for his own people? Is he going there to go and take the resources of this country and give to his own people? Is it not supposed to be the welfare of all? But the truth is, this presidential system, because I'm not just looking at restructuring the entity called Nigeria, even the political system has to be restructured because that has been hijacked. So the people have no voice.
When you say hijacked, how do you mean? You need to break it down.
I'll break it down. We're talking about the best person, the person who has the wherewithal, the mental capacity, the patriotic zeal, the love of the country to rule. That can never emerge in the system in which we are. That there are political fathers, there are political warlords that will produce who you vote for. And you know, we are doing grassroots politics. It is a democratic system. Our constitution has not given room for independent candidates. So the party had to produce the candidate you vote for. Who is the owner of the party? The parties are owned by fathers who put their cronies there. As I was driving down here this afternoon, I saw posters of councillors, a councillorship candidate in Lagos, and somebody was saying to me, these ones that are campaigning, who put them there? Who nominated them? Who brought them? So the party. Who owns the party? 90% of the people you have in our National Assembly and state assemblies are cronies. So the political system itself has to be restructured so that the people, they are supposed to be representative of the people. Each time members of our National Assembly comes up to say, we represent the people, I laugh because we don't even know them. You either fight your way there, butt your way there, or get a political godfather that says, go and represent me there. So until we have that level of restructuring, the entity called Nigeria has to be restructured so that same people with the same value, with the same motive, with the same orientation can live together and do their things the way they want it. But nationally, we can come together and agree on the binding forces, like you said when you were doing the introduction, the military, the international relation, the Naira and all the rest of it. But what does the federal government have to do with a sinking borehole in a local government or a primary school within a community? So restructuring, hijacking the political system, that I mean is that the elite, the people who, the patriotic Nigerians are edged out. They are never in the system. Should he want to be a governor of his state today, you know the first thing that will happen is to go to the political godfather of that area, who will have his own candidate, have his own person, because he has no political structure. So those who own the political structure determine who is presented for voting. At the end of the day, Nigerians are voting for people they don't know, no track record. Okay. You know, you begin to vote for criminals, vote for thieves, because that is what the owners of the political structure from place to place are presented.
All right, now I come back to you, Tony. You were part of the 2014 confab, and there were recommendations made, which a lot of people are clamoring for now, and it was said that the former President Johnson tried to implement certain things, but now there's been calls that there should be implementation of what was decided at the 2014 conference. Now, you could give us details of what was agreed and if it is something we should look into now.
Well, the 2014 conference came up with a report which the president, in fact, that was the only document that publicly President Jonathan handed over to President Buhari. And this administration now said immediately it came into power that it is not going to look into that report at all. In fact, up to recently, the presidency has restated it is not going to restructure. Well, the problem is this. The recommendations are voluminous, but the simple needs are those of devolution, rights. I'll give you a small example. This country now bases all its governance on sharing of wealth. Governors go into Abuja to share wealth. At the moment, wealth that comes only from the Niger Delta. Whereas every area of this country has more than enough resources to develop and grow its own self. In fact, even the Niger Delta has not grown as well as could have, because the governors and the systems of governance there have been lazy and not inclined or motivated to add value to their resources. And of all these resources, the most important resource we have neglected is the human resource. Now, if we were to return, say, to the 1963 Constitution that stipulated that every federating unit, then we had regions. Now, for example, we have states. Every federating unit is to produce, attract revenue, pay a tax to the center, and develop according to its own choice. So, the way Awolowo did for Southwest was, he decided that our cocoa will first of all develop people. And the Southwest has benefited immensely by the free education, from the free education and other things that Chief Awolowo put in place. The Sadana of Sokoto now decided, I'll follow suit. He set up, when I was set up the WNTV, he said first in Africa. Okwara set up the ENTV, he said second to none. Now, there was this healthy rivalry. But now you find that whilst then, we all, for example, went to school based on merit. Now we all are forced to wait for the slowest child to catch up. Because I cannot, in my state, decide to develop our children at the pace I would like. I have to make sure that the children in my state are developed pari passu with the children, say, in Nasarawa State, in Jigawa State, in Sokoto State. Now, this is not the best thing for development. We could have been better developed, for example, if the Niger Delta governors knew that whatever they get from oil and gas, they have to plow back to either add value to oil and gas or develop other resources. They're not doing that. And because everybody else, we've got this rentier mentality, which says just go monthly to Abuja, collect money, come back to the state capital, all local government chairmen come in, you share the money again. Nobody is interested in wealth creation. Nobody is interested in resource development. And that is the key to progress, to development, to growth.
All right. Let's see some of the recommendations of the 2014 confab. Resource control and fiscal federalism, the adoption of a part-time legislature, the removal of immunity clause for criminal matter, special courts to handle corruption cases. And independent candidacy, the diaspora participating in voting, unbundling of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, creation of 18 new states. Now, privatization of existing refineries, stoppage of sponsorship of pilgrims, phasing out of cattle routes and grazing reserves to be replaced with ranching. A new revenue allocation formula following this manner: FG 42.5%, state 35%, and LG's 22.5%, as opposed to the prevailing 52.68%, 26.72%, and 20.60% respectively. Now, those in favor of restructuring usually cite what prevailed in the First Republic when the three regions, that's the East, West, and North, and the Midwest, developed at their own pace and unleashed development in their various areas. But why most Nigerians are calling for restructuring, others are seeking outright cessation. Pastor Febi, now you look at the list of recommendations and that of the resource control and fiscal federalism, which Tony touched, and then the issue of special courts to handle corruption cases. That is yet to happen. How do we do this such that we have been calling, this government has been saying, a fight against corruption and all of that. And that is also key in the restructuring of the country.
I want to start like this. I'm still at a loss why the present government will say we have nothing to do with the outcome of that confab, simply because the APC did not believe that the president then, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, set it up for good reason, that it was for personal reason. He wanted power, he wanted to agree that we might not agree with his reason of setting it up. And that some people were there, and it was not what the people that the populace will have chosen, but what came out of that confab will go a long way to solve all these problems we have. Just like he has said, and we have just seen you reiterating it now. You spoke about setting up a special court to try corruption. This government came in and said one of the key things they want to do is to fight corruption. You want to fight corruption, there is no system to fight corruption. I look at what is happening. Look at the situation where we find ourselves now. The executive has a frosty relationship with the National Assembly, a frosty relationship with the judiciary, and you want your bill to pass, and you want your cases to be heard. You can see the bills are not passing, the cases are falling flat because there is no system. This confab, I believe, you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. I mean, let's pick out the good things. Let's look for a few people, look at it very well. Initially, we didn't want to accept this because we doubted the sincerity of the man that set it up. But now we are there, and the country has to move on. And we could pick up the good things here and then go for a referendum. Look, the constitution itself must be tinkered with. I keep saying to people, the judicial system we have now cannot catch a thief. It can only catch a thief that stole a goat or pick up your gun from the hanger where you put it. But those who steal big, all you need is to steal enough to make room for one or two sons who will help you argue technicalities until the life of the government is over.
So are you saying our call and fight against corruption is an exercise in futility?
As it is, we don't have the system. And the law itself must be changed. You see, desperate situation calls for desperate solution. Nigeria's situation is a desperate one that calls for us to take certain desperate steps to rescue and to bring these countries at the precipice. And not talking about restructuring or not going for restructuring, not looking at the outcome, the good aspect of the outcome of 2014 confab, is just postponing the evil days. I'm afraid If I will use that word for what, so we need to, this government had to look at it again. I mean, there's no need playing to the gallery. Dr. Goodluck Jonathan is out of the place. You have it. Let's pick the good things there, and even the referendum is not in the Constitution.
Exactly.
So the Constitution itself must be determined. I don't even know how the referendum could be conducted, assuming we are able to conduct a referendum. It's going back to the National Assembly that will kill it, because it doesn't favor them. Nobody hands over power gently, ordinarily, voluntarily. No, so we have a lot of things ought to have, a lot of steps ought to have come in. And that is why, that's my own grouse with the President Muhammad Buhari. I voted for him. I love him. I love his sincerity. I love his integrity. I love his, he's not there to steal, and nobody could say he's stealing. And just like the acting vice president, we have good people who will not steal. But running a country is more than I'm not stealing. A complex country like Nigeria is more than that. So between the time he won the election and the time he was sworn in, there were things that ought to have been put in place. The party itself, APC, lost it. Because, 5 political parties came together just to be able to send out PDP, which they did. But after you have sent out PDP, what's your plan? How do you hope to actualize those things you wanted to do, like fighting corruption, for instance? How do you hope to do that? So, like I said, you don't fight corruption just by attacking people. It's true, it's a systemic thing. It's something that has been with us all these years. I thought that was where APC lost it. And coming to see, I still saw Madam El-Rufai 1 or 2 days ago, even John Oyegun 1 or 2 days ago, still saying they will have nothing to do with the outcome of the confab. And they're going to, like he said, they're going to look at it. So this is just playing to the gallery. This is just playing with the destiny of Nigeria. Because the agitations are not going to stop. Because Nigerians are suffering, people are hungry, and it is the system that has produced this suffering and these miseries. So I think the earlier we look into, call for the outcome of that confab, let's look for those things that are useful, we can agree on. Let's get our constitution amended so that it could take, and that's why some people are calling for sovereign national conference at that point in time. And if it is sovereign, then it will not be think about anybody again. That's what Nigerians wanted. That is how we wanted to be ruled. And then we can then start from somewhere. And I think this restructuring thing is 47 years late. 45 years late. This we ought to have done long time ago. And the more we keep postponing it and we keep arguing, it's all grammar. It's not going to help this country. It's not going to help the other man that is suffering. It's not going to help us to address the issues on the ground. So I think we have to revisit that document.
Okay, and now another issue, Tony, is the issue of independent candidacy. How is that going to work?
We need independent candidates. For example, a gentleman like Professor Patrick Utomi decided to run for president. Pat is a qualified person. He's got the integrity, he's got the background, he's got the knowledge, but he did not have the party.
Yeah, the party.
He did not have the party. So he was destined to fail even before he started.
Now, the party.
You see, this is all based on foundations. If you want to fight, for example, corruption, it's not by trial by media. It's by setting in place certain statutory laws, certain laws, and certain institutions. For example, the former NSA, Dasuki, has been held for quite some time. And we hear that he's accused of having tampered with security votes. Yet, to date, there's no legislative oversight over security votes. Every minister has a security vote. Every governor, every local government chairman has a security vote. The present NSA has a security vote. And nobody is there to check him. A presidential, even parliamentary system is based on checks and balances. There are no checks and balances in place right now. My brother said something about if, for example, people in the Southeast have been shouting, we want a referendum. I keep telling them, you are putting the cart before the horse. What you should be shouting for is National Assembly amend the Constitution so that we can hold national referendums to change the future constitutions or write brand new ones. Because the present Constitution is a lie. It says, we the people. I did not vote for this Constitution. No. It was General Abdulsalami Abubakar and a few others who sat there and put it forward as a military decree. In fact, do you know that really if we go by law, there's no government in Nigeria? Because the very first president in 1999 was sworn in before that military decree became a constitution. So he was sworn in on no constitution. So there was no swearing in. Therefore, there was no government. Therefore, everything that's built on it, because you can't build anything on zero. What we are faced with right now is the need for political will. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo, he is the one there right now. He has to grit his teeth, tighten his belt, and take the bull by the horns. He has to show the political will to save this nation from going into the abyss. If we wait until more people are killed in the Middle Belt and the rest of Nigeria by Fulani herdsmen who are making sure their movement is a reaction against the 2014 confab. Because that confab, look, everybody at the confab agreed by consensus, everybody, that they should pass all the resolutions. But now, a lot of people are backtracking and say, no, we are not part of it. Why? Because certain things they found out in retrospect that certain things they had voted for do not really satisfy their regional, ethnic, feudal, or atavistic needs or desires. We are not going about keeping Nigeria one. This is not enough for anybody to tell me that Nigeria's unity is not debatable. Nigeria can only stay united if it is restructured. If it's not restructured, nobody can guarantee that there will not be more uprisings in the Niger Delta. Nobody can guarantee that the people of the Southeast are not going to start a civil war. Okay. Nobody can guarantee that Boko Haram and other people won't come in because they want to have a space to operate in. And right now, this country's constitution does not allow for us to operate as autonomous or semi-autonomous federating units in one system.
Now, you mentioned something that some persons who were part of the Confab 2014 are now looking back in retrospect that some of the things mentioned may not favor their region. Now, does that mean we should call for another Confab, or how can we do this restructuring such that no region will feel that they are not being favored in such?
It's all a matter of ethos. Do we have the values in our heads? We all shout, let us start from asking, what do we want? Do we want one Nigeria? If the answer is yes, how can we have one Nigeria? You see, that's how we can work.
Progress, yes.
How can we have one Nigeria? Only by satisfying everybody. And you can only satisfy everybody where everybody is negotiating as equals and giving and taking. And there's no better negotiating ground than there was at the National Conference. You see, why there was no, my group, the National Summit Group, was a group that spearheaded the movement that led to the National Conference. We held the first Leaders Summit here at Sheraton in Lagos. Why people are shying away from grappling with certain fundamentals is simply because we are still steeped in our ethnic national ethos. But if we could only look at it from an angle of what would satisfy the Nigerian. For example, the Niger Delta is not part of Biafra. But the members of the Southeast who are clamoring for Biafra have been saying that Niger Delta is part of Biafra. And they have even been saying, to some extent, that parts of the Middle Belt and part of the Southwest is part of Biafra. You see, this is all due to either ignorance, misinformation, disinformation, or deep state activities. You see, a lot of what goes on in Nigeria is carried out by false flag operators. You, as a Niger Deltan, have known cases where wells were blown up, and if they said militants, and all the militant groups said they were not involved. So who was involved? To whose benefit is it for headsmen who are termed by, I'm not concerned about where they're from. I've been told that they're not Nigerians, which raises another question. Why are not Nigerians allowed to come in and murder our people? But these people are going around killing people, and nothing is being done about them. The people in the Southeast who are going about their agitation peacefully are being mauled to death. The Shiite Muslims are being mauled to death. This is all indicative of the fact that there are some deep state forces, elements that are deep-rooted. And this is not about north or south. They are both from the north and the south. They are working together to make sure that this nation does not move forward. In fact, that there's a conflagration very soon so that the arms dealers will make their money and their agents in Nigeria will make money from commissions. I
come to you now, Pastor Femi. I'm throwing the same question at you, and some of the things he mentioned seem like in restructuring for restructuring to be successful, it has to start from the mind.
That's right.
So how do we marry all of this such that no region feels had done by or not favored?
Well, he just says some things that are very, very vital. There had to be discussion, there had to be coming together, there had to be mind revolution. Somebody was asking me not long ago, how will Nigeria get out of this? How do we get back to sanity? I said, revolution, but bloodless. So, mind revolution. We have to keep thinking. The elite, the patriotic Nigerians that are not involved, he said something now, referring to Dr. Pat, who told me there are many good Nigerians you can mention. But he said he does not have the party. So you don't have the party, that level is not restructured. How do you present a person that we know can do it? Somebody said Nigeria is an entity where the best is not possible, but the worst never happened. And I pray the worst will not happen. The way it's going now. The way it's going now. But that itself is not a compliment. Why is it that the best is not possible? So this renewal, this revolution has to start with the individual. I mean, I like to call on good Nigerians, patriotic Nigerians, and there are good Nigerians. There are honest Nigerians.
I think acting President Shobajo is a good Nigerian.
He's a good Nigerian.
Let's start from him.
You said something. Yes, I had wanted to just say something about that. The acting president is there now. He's a good person. He's a good person, a man of integrity, brilliant, and all that. But then you just said something. He doesn't have the party.
All right, we need to quickly take a break.
He doesn't have one single person.
We need to take a break now, and the show will continue. Stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. We are still looking at restructuring Nigeria, and I still have my guests with me. Now, let's look at the recent calls by some youth, Arewa youth, saying that Igbos must quit the north. Some are calling for restructuring, others are calling for cessation. Yeah. Igbos quit the north. Yeah. How, I mean, this has been on the lips of many, saying that that statement is quite weighty and could cause a lot of harm than good. Yeah. How do we, put this together side by side, the calls for restructuring? What exactly are they seeking for that push them to make such calls, Pastor?
Now, these are reactions, and there will be more reactions. You see, when you fail to do what you should do on time, there will be so many other things that will be coming up that were not earlier on envisaged. Like he said, at the confab, the agreement and all were all agreed with. Everybody voted for it. It was a consensus. But because it was not implemented on time, certain other things are beginning to play itself out. So there is a rethink. So this thing does not favor us after all. And then you begin to see all that the thing is discussed. The Arewa youth that threw in that kite say, well, if the Igbo guys are saying we need our own country, and it's obvious that we are saying resources are generated from the south and it's used to develop the north, why don't we also throw that one in? And the more you delay in doing these things, the more you begin to have this crisis come up, because everybody had been shouting, why should that come up at this time? And they are still sticking their ground. The elders are supporting, there are people that are supporting them. They may not come up openly. And that is also making Nigeria has not been this divided before. We have become so divided that the more, except we quickly take action, this referendum we are talking about. And I have some other things in my mind. Do you know this presidential system of government is safe? It's strange to us. I said to people, you can't work here. This is cut and paste. We took it from America, put it here. We are not Americans. Nigerians are not Americans. Our values are different. Our mental setups are different. Our orientations are different. When you meet an average Nigerian, the first thing they ask you is, where are you from? Or what's your religion? From that point, the equation is no longer the same. That is who we are. So this Arewa youth saying this have their backers. In fact, we even have seen leaders of the North saying yes, they agree it should be so. So
right, quickly, we have a caller on the line. Kasumu from Taraba. Are you there?
Yes, hello.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I'm really enjoying the conversation, but yes, I really support the conversation, because we need to control, make our mind clear. Simply because a poor area has nothing in mind, rather than be served with good amenities. But at least the leaders have to clear their mind on the way they handle people's properties, especially.
Thank you, Kasumo.
Let me weigh in here on what he just said. I am part of the Southern Elders and Leaders group. I was there when we met with all leader of Oneze, leader of Afenifere, leader of the PANDEF. We all met here in Lagos at Chief Ayo Adebanjo's home, and we brought out a statement. And that statement is a very weighty one. That statement says, one, every threat to Igbos is a threat to the whole South. Now, that is very dangerous. But it was necessary. Because if right now the call by the Arewa youths, even if they were to say tomorrow, we have retracted our call, it's gone out already. The Almajiri, remember two governors, Governor Kokwanso, the former governor of Kano, said, we defeated Jonathan with the power of the Almajiris. In Kano, they say they have 3 million of them. The present governor, Governor Ganduje, said the Almajiris in Kano are foreigners.
All right.
So which is to say, foreigners were used to defeat Jonathan. Now, if those same foreigners who are the ones who were used in Maitasine, who are the ones who are used in Boko Haram, who are the ones they claim, some people claim, are the Fulanis that are killing people, if they have heard this call that Igbos should leave before October 1st, there's nothing saying that tomorrow a pogrom cannot start in the north.
All right, quickly, we
Now,
have,
please,
we have West on the line, West from Edo State.
Okay.
You'll continue after his call. West, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead. Good afternoon.
Yes, you see, much as I like the 2014 conference report, I think Dr. Jonathan made a great mistake. Some great mistakes. There are some recommendations there. As you even show it on the surface, on the screen, there are a lot of them that are policy document. This thing that you don't need. It is not in the constitution. It is just a policy that you just, if you show it again, you will see about 5 of them.
West, all right, I guess it's gone. It's saying there were errors made.
Okay.
In
Now, I'm not going to hold brief for Jonathan, but as I said, I was part of the team that designed how the conference itself would hold, and that looked at the conference decisions. I was even the secretary of the executive secretary of the Southern Nigerian delegates. We had a secretariat, and I headed it. Now, if what we knew, however, was Jonathan did not have time to implement anything. It was already far into election year. In Nigeria, election year really begins 2 years before the election.
Right.
And this was already months to the election. But let's forget that. The man there now is President Buhari. The buck stops on his table. So it is up to him, or in his absence, acting President Oshibajo, to do something. Now, I said this. If Almajiri starts killing, there is no way they will be able to know that I am, even my name, they'll think I'm Igbo. Uranta, they'll say Yamani. They'll kill. In fact, they will kill up to the extent of killing northerners who are probably Christians. Because in southern Kaduna, you will only have given them a better excuse to go on a killing spree. So this danger has been put out there. That was why the South came together to warn that any danger, any threat to the Igbos is a threat to all of us, which is not to say that the South has come together to say we want to be either Biafra or Odua Republic or Niger Delta. But these are options. And they are always viable options until the presidency or the government, the administration, takes positive and powerful, strong steps that makes the rest of us feel assured that we are protected. What is the government's primary duty? It is welfare and protection of
our
citizens. So we had asked as the National Summit Group that in fact there are three things that should be done first. One, put in the amendment, asking for a referendum on any changes to the present constitution or the creation of a future one. Two, make chapter 2 of the constitution justiciable. That is to say, I should be able to charge to sue NEPA or PHCN if they don't give me power after I've paid. I should be able to sue the police if they don't protect me, which is their duty to do. When we can hold certain government institutions responsible for the duties they are put in place to perform, we are in a better position to ask for accountability. But right now, there's nobody to hold responsible. So you hear, for example, that the military have been deployed into the Middle Belt to protect cows from cattle rustlers, not to protect people from being killed by headsmen, because those headsmen are not Nigerians. This is totally deplorable. I believe Nigeria stands, as Pastor Manuel said, on the edge of a precipice.
Yes.
And they say the definition of a madman is a man who does the same thing and expects a different result.
All right.
We are doing the same thing. We have to change the result, and the way we can change it is by restructuring to make sure we stay unified and that we progress economically.
Stemming from what you have said, I come to you, Pastor Femi.
That's right.
Now, you talked about protection of citizens and all of that, and there has been calls that from the exclusive list, there should be decentralization of the police,
right.
and also when it comes to electricity and issues like that.
Right.
What's your take?
These are all things that the restructuring will solve.
They were there before
They will
in
solve.
63.
Do you know, as close as New York is to New Jersey, is just a river. That's like Ogun State and Lagos State. They have different rules. They have different set of laws. They have different kind of policing. How do you bring a man from Niger State to police Lagos? Well, he doesn't know anywhere, doesn't know any people. So, and community policing, state policing, and the fear people have is that if you have state police system, then the governors will hijack it. But ask me what is not hijacked in Nigeria. I just told you the political system is hijacked. And this system cannot produce the best, cannot give you the candidate of your choice to vote for. That's very foundational and key. You are voting for looters, you are voting for thieves, you are voting for criminals, you are voting for people you don't know, they have no track record, there's nothing we can point to in the community they have done. But you got to vote for them because the party produced them, but somebody owns the party. That has to be restructured. So this policing and all that he has mentioned, they are all the problem that this restructuring will solve. Govern yourself the way you desire, the things you are passionate about. I mean,
Period.
How could Evans had kept 2 buildings in Igodo and people there didn't know that kidnap people, victims are kept there 6 months, 5 months? That shouldn't be possible. Cars drove in and out, people moved in and out, but nobody is asking questions. Do you see that in the Western world? You go to London in and out, you see two of them anywhere. Nothing can happen within 2 minutes.
They know
Somebody has picked it
everybody.
up. They know everybody. Until we come to that level, we are not safe. And if the security is not there, what then is possible? And that is deeper for every other thing. Look, this is not a country. You can't govern a place like this. I'm still stunned for APC saying we are not going the way of restructuring.
All right.
You
have
just
a
give
call on
up
the
for
line,
people who make
quickly.
Nigeria ungovernable.
Matthew from Gombe State, are you there?
Hello.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, I've listened to the conversation. The Mr. Randa made some statements He said he does not believe in the constitution we have now because the people who produced it did not do it on behalf of Nigerians. But he was a member of the Constitutional Conference of 2014 that he is advocating for. Did we elect people to go there? They were selected by the president then. They did not, as far as I'm concerned, they did not represent the people. So that is that. The whole agitation about this restructuring, my view is that structure is not our problem. Our problem remains the operators of the structure in place. If you change this structure 10 times and the people operating the structure do not change from within, nothing will still work. I see it as a design by those who are promoting corruption in this country, those who have been there before, that didn't do anything, have not come out to begin to blame the structure in order to make it difficult for those that are there now. That is the simple truth of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Please, let me respond, first of all, to what he said. I did not say that I am not going to be subject to this constitution. I am saying, however, that if we're going to go by legal terms, this constitution is a lie. And this government or this system, what we call the Fourth Republic, is based on zero. Because even President Obasanjo on May 29, 1999, was sworn in without a constitution being yet in place. Having said that, now talking about how people were brought in to the National Conference, I'm sorry to say, Mr. Matthew, most of us are ignorant of the facts and the truth. Those people were elected by groups, ethnic bodies, associations. The president only selected 12 or so %. And these were elder statesmen and military officers. The rest of the people were elected by Afenifere, Arewa Consultative Forum, Ohaneze, etc. We could not, for example, people said, why didn't you get ethnic nationalities to elect people?
All right, you need to wrap up quickly.
We found out that we don't even know how many ethnic nationalities there are in Nigeria. Some said 364, some said 732. Secondly, for INEC to have conducted an election when it was preparing to conduct the presidential elections was going to take up, I think, 47 billion naira.
All right,
now,
so we need to wrap
there was
this
no
up
way these two things could have been done
quickly,
otherwise.
Pastor Femi, where do we start for this call for restructuring? Quickly, because we need to wrap
Where
up
do
the
we
show.
start? We should continue to press in for a referendum, a change in our constitution that will allow for a referendum. I still believe that the 2014 combat document should be brought out and the good things there should be picked, subject to referendum, restructure this country, without which nothing else is possible.
All right, Tony, any last words quickly?
Oh, yes. Simple. The presidency should send in an executive bill asking for amendments to the Constitution, for a referendum to be in place, for Chapter 2 to be justiciable, and submit the National Conference report as another executive bill.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show today. Well, that's how we wrap up the show for today. I'm Veronica Dan-Ikpoyi. Thanks for watching.